I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
Scare the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So that when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations?
I post a calendar every week,
awesome.
and then so and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. So that encourages them to do it. And I've had students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection. That's their extra credit. I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable. So if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to. So the Cultural Revolution in the 60s was fixing the problem that came about after the economic one. It ultimately failed, right? There was a lot of excesses. People were definitely shot in the streets that probably shouldn't have been.
Incredibly ugly behavior come out of this city, and you can see a couple of people over there that might be demonstrating that.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
scare the fuck out of them? People were definitely shot in the streets that probably shouldn't have been.
I like what you said in our phone call. I feel like I have 180 days, right?
Yeah. I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
And that's the question.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are indifferent. I think they're distracted by the gadgets and video games. How do you do that? How do you
scare the fuck out of them?
Yeah.
Meet Gabriel Gipe. He's a public school teacher paid for by taxpayer dollars at Intercom High School in Sacramento, California. Gipe, who teaches advanced placement government classes, is not shy about his involvement in Antifa's local chapter. He even has an Antifa flag and a poster of Mao Zedong in his classroom.
So, it's like my wife and I have been political organizers. I've been organizing since I was 13.
Wow.
And I've been in a ton of different organizations. And I've been on the front lines, and I've taken a step back and gone back and forth. And my wife is the same way.
Is there a local Antifa or chapter?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. The Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? And we have no official member list, right? Yeah. So that when there is right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So and Sacramento, as a city itself is incredibly diverse, but we're surrounded by a bunch of right-wing rednecks. And then the other really big organization in our area that, if you're looking to get involved, is NorCal Resist. NorCal Resist does direct outreach for undocumented folks. They help them with material support as well as legal aid and support with the help of the National Lawyers Guild. So they work in tandem with each other. So that's why I do political efficacy events, because I want to get them out in the community. I want to get them familiar with organizations that are doing work, what type of work they're doing, how they can be involved, where their passion is, and what they can contribute. Because it's every single one of us can do something.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to all be on the front lines, but I am asking you to be involved. And it is so much more than just sharing a tweet or posting on Instagram.
Gipe seems eager to get his students actively participating at radical, activist political events. But he takes it one step further by motivating them through extra credit in exchange for their attendance.
So for youth that so let's say my son is pretty
Yeah.
he just is he's 17 who want to get plugged in though to actually doing stuff in the community, to activism, where would he go to connect to some of these organizations? People that are interested, or their flyers or something?
No, I post a calendar every week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
for the organizations that you mentioned, so they can get connected. That's dope, man.
And then and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. So that encourages them to do it. Because I can't just hey, here's some things going. They'll never go, right? And I've had students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. So I since I work with PA PSL, and PSL has connections with a bunch of other organizations, and also like Sacramento Peace Action, which is like a very old organization that posts a calendar on their website every month of all the events that are going on, and I just put them on my whiteboard, let them know where they are. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection, that's their extra credit.
If you look at these photos from Gipe's classroom, you can see he has an Antifa flag as well as a poster of Mao Zedong, the Chinese dictator who is one of the most notoriously brutal leaders in history, responsible for the death of millions.
I probably as far left as you can go. So like I've gone down those deep dark rabbit holes where like the idea of like adventurism and just being like, why aren't people just like taking up arms? Like why and you know, we have historical taking up arms like against the state, like and we have historical examples of that happening and them getting crushed and being martyrs for a cause, and it's like, okay, well, it's slow going because it takes massive amounts of organization.
Gipe's radical philosophy is prominent in the teaching in his own classroom. Gipe goes on to say he's not the only teacher at Intricom High School who shares his radical beliefs.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because a lot of senior parents at this point have backed off, right? Yeah. So they're just kind of like, well, you can fend for yourself. You know, I know other people in my department who teach like 10th graders who've had like parent meetings, like some, you know, a student who complained about like a pride flag and said that they felt uncomfortable. I've had students, you know, during anonymous surveys at the end of the year comment about the things that I have in my classroom. Like I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable, and I addressed it to everyone because I didn't know who it was, and I was like, well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable, so if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to. Yeah.
We're distracted, bro.
Yeah, and it's hard not to.
You make them revolutionaries. They've got TikTok, they've got Instagram, they've got this.
Well, that's just it. It's like, utilize that propaganda, right? Like, these are all great tools on how to get, you know, it's like, I've met so many people in my life who, when they met me, thought I was, like, off the wall, right? And now they're all Marxists, right? You know, and I'm just like, your political identification changed, and so I have a huge political spectrum in my room on the wall. So they take an ideology quiz in their Unit 4, and I put their face, or they have to give me a picture of themselves, and I put it on the wall where they are. Every year, they get further and further left. And I've made them pay attention to where my tack marks are, because I'm like, these ideologies are considered extremes, right? Extreme times breed extreme ideologies, right? There is a reason why Generation Z, these kids, are becoming further and further left. Are there a lot of teachers like you, man? I think there are more than there used to be. And I think that, like, there's 3 other teachers in my department that I did my credential program with, and they're rad. They're great people, and they're definitely, like, on the same page.
So what do you think of China, though? Have you been? Have you been?
I have not. I'm actually going in April.
Okay, cool. I wanted to go just to see it, because I hear conflicting things.
Yeah. I think it's... One,
I mean, some of it's good.
You know, like the revolution that happened in 1949 with like Mao and like the Chinese Communist Party, right? And then like the Cultural Revolution that happened in the 60s to the 70s up until like Mao's death, and then Deng coming in and like opening up to capitalist, you know, kind of investment and creating the road that they're currently on. And then like what Xi Jinping is attempting to do now, kind of like going back to more the Maoist understanding of socialism. So you need a two-pronged system, which is exactly what Huey Newton and Fred Hampton understood, was that you needed propaganda of the deed, the economic, and also cultural propaganda as well. You needed to retrain the way that people think. So the Cultural Revolution in the 60s was fixing the problem that came about after the economic one, right? It was like, well, what can we do now to root out this culture that keeps perpetuating hyper-individualism, hyper-competitiveness, you know, capitalist exploitation and consolidation of wealth. It ultimately failed, right? There was a lot of excesses. People were definitely like, you know, shot in the streets that probably shouldn't have been. But I do think that it's important to understand that as an extension of an economic revolution. They were changing the base, and then they went to change the superstructure. And you cannot change one without the other. You can't have cultural shifts without the economic shift, and vice versa. So I think that for movements in the United States, that we need to be able to attack both fronts, right? We need to create parallel structures of power because we cannot rely on the state. So we need to distribute food, necessities. We need to create those mutual aid programs that we can look back at groups like the Panthers and learn from their successes as well as their mistakes, as well as consistently focusing on education and a change of cultural propaganda. Because it's like we have to hit both fronts. We have to convince people that this is what we actually need.
We caught up with Gipe to ask for comment.
Gabriel, hello, how are you?
I'm good.
I am a journalist with Project Veritas.
I don't feel comfortable with this.
Well, I think that there's been a lot of uncomfortability in your classroom. And you mentioned to one of our colleagues that you have 180 days to turn students into revolutionaries. Would you a student voice their uncomfortability in your classroom with the Antifa flag? Do you recall that? You tacitly implied they might be aligned with fascists. I mean, is this the kind of behavior in line with the mission statement of your high school?
That you're harassing.
Sir, I'm not harassing you.
I'm asking you to leave me alone.
I'm trying to get comments.
You to leave me alone.
You're a public school teacher.
I understand that, but
You're a public school teacher.
Harassing me.
And you're teaching things outside the curriculum of your school. I have some footage that I need to show a member of the school district here.
You guys can't be in here recording. You need to leave, please.
Okay, we're trying to show you a
No, I want you to leave or I'm going to call the police.
Gipe believes it's okay to enforce his radical political agenda on his students. This tip came to us from someone on the inside of Gipe's school and was corroborated by a Project Veritas undercover journalist. If you're on the inside of one of these educational institutions, contact us and send us a tip at veritastips@protonmail.com. We'll send our team of undercover journalists to corroborate. Be brave. Do something.